Welcome to the Rondinelli Project. I'm Mr. R. Today I'd like to share how I make deer bologna for those that might not know how, or those that might be looking for a different recipe to try. You'll find my recipe, good, bad, or indifferent, in the description. I don't want to waste your time, so here's the video. You start this recipe with 5 pounds of ground venison, and that's what you see here. I use a digital scale to measure it out to make sure it's accurate. This is the grinder that I use. It's a LEM grinder. It is more than adequate for home use. This is a beast. It does an amazing job, and it will grind up any deer you need to process. I start by adding my ingredients to my ground venison. The first thing I do is add 1 cup of water. That helps add some moisture back to the meat. Venison is a very healthy meat. If you're going to eat meat, eat venison. It doesn't have a lot of animal fat. Then I add a 3/4 cup of olive oil. Olive oil gives a very, very nice flavor to the meat. Next on the ingredients to add, you want to put your Morton tender quick salt. 1/4 cup will be added to your ground venison, and this is what cures the meat. Next, I will add my dry ingredients, and I've pre-mixed these all together into one container. So you mix them all together, but it consists of 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and for those of you that like a spicy kick to your deer bologna, I add 2 tablespoons of hot pepper chips. You want to mix everything thoroughly. The water, the oil, all of your dry spices, get them all mixed in. Now, if you are going to use an electric smoker, you don't need to add liquid smoke. If you're going to use a conventional oven, then you might want to consider adding 2 teaspoons of liquid smoke or to taste. And you can use any ingredients you want. Now, once you're done mixing everything, you want to pop that in the fridge, and you want this to cure for a minimum of 8 hours. I usually put it in and just let it sit overnight. The next day, you get ready for stuffing. I take some vegetable oil and take the feed tube, lightly coat that feed tube with oil. I use natural casings. The reason that I'm putting the oil on there is so that the casing can be added easily, so it doesn't stick. So you start your casing, you pull on the end of the casing and feed it to the end of the tube. By pulling back on it while you're pushing forward, it really helps, makes that an easy process. You want to soak your casings pretty well. When you're done, tie off the end and trim it. At this point, you're ready to pull your cured venison out of the fridge that sat all night, and you're going to put that on the feed plate on top of your grinder. You may use a different type of grinder, but that's what I do. This particular LEM grinder has a really big feed plate, and it allows you to easily put 5 pounds up on top, and that's why I like this particular grinder. Works very, very well. Here's a tip. After you pull your venison out of the fridge, you want to remix it up again real well. It gets all the ingredients and make sure everything is equally balanced so that you don't get dead spots in the meat that didn't get a lot of the flavoring. Your next step is to actually start stuffing your casings. I poke a hole in the end to let the air out. You take your ramrod, push that down the feed tube, and that will come out into your casing. This takes a little bit of a trick if you're doing it by yourself, because on one hand you're trying to manipulate the sausage, and on the other hand you are trying to feed the meat into the grinder. That just takes a little bit of practice. What I want to do is once I get my desired length, I want to twist that off. It's possible you might get some air bubbles in there. And if that starts to happen, just take a toothpick, poke a hole in the side of the casing, and the air will come out. You just keep feeding the meat through to your desired length. Now, I've found that with 5 pounds of venison, with this size casing, you end up with about 12 to 14 links of deer bologna. There are different tube sizes. Once again, it all depends on how big or how small you're making it. You can make bigger deer bologna sizes, or you can make smaller ones. It's personally up to you, but it doesn't really matter. Sooner or later, as you keep stuffing your casing, you are going to end up coming to the end of your casing. They come in assorted lengths. When you do, you want to make sure that you stop, leave yourself enough casing that you can tie off the final link of deer bologna as you get to the end of the natural casing that I'm using. I'm going to show you that right here. Sometimes you'll get a full length. Sometimes you'll get a smaller length. It doesn't really matter. Make sure that you leave about 6 or 8 inches. Pull that off the feed tube and simply tie it in a knot. Pull it tight against that last link of deer bologna. At that point, I'll take my links and I'll transfer them onto a cookie sheet, getting ready to take them to the electric smoker. Now I'm going to smoke these in an electric smoker, but you can also do these in a conventional oven. And that's why if you're going to use a conventional oven, it might be a good idea to add liquid smoke if you like smoked flavor. Most people do, but not everybody does. Since I'm going to put these in a smoker, I added no liquid smoke. I'll let the smoker do its job. If you count these links of deer bologna, this 5 pounds yielded 12 links that are about 8 to 10 inches long. I'm going to adjust my smoker so the internal temperature will reach 200 degrees. If you're using a conventional oven, you want to set it to 200 degrees. I'm going to add some water to my water holder tray just to keep things moist. You can put a little tray in a conventional oven as well. Now, when it comes to the smoke flavor, on this particular batch of deer bologna, I am going to use hickory. My wood chip tray is there. I'm going to fill it. I do not soak my wood chips for my electric smoker. You don't need to do that. I'm going to add my wood chips, put them in the smoker. If you're using a conventional oven, that's why you're going to add the liquid smoke. But if you have your smoker, then whatever wood chips you prefer. There's all different flavors out there. There's cherry and mesquite, hickory. I really like the whiskey barrel grind. You open up the smoker, put your wood chips in where the wood chip holder goes, and let that continue to heat until you start to get some smoke. I very seldom add my meat until it starts to smoke. Sometimes I do. In this case, it's a little colder weather, so you can see here that my internal temperature has reached 200 degrees and is holding steady. That's perfect. I'll bring my venison out. I'll add it to the smoker. Now at 200 degrees, you want to cook this for 2 hours. You want that internal temperature of the meat to reach between 165 and 175 degrees to be safe. Same thing goes for a conventional oven in your home. My smoker's making good smoke now. I check it at the halfway point, which is about an hour. I make sure it's staying at 200 degrees. You want to do that also with your conventional oven, you can turn over the deer bologna. At 2 hours, I'm going to pull out my finished deer bologna. Boy, doesn't that look good. I want to check the internal temperature. I want to make sure, once again, it's between 165 and 175 degrees, and this is perfect. Make sure that the thermometer you are using is a quick thermometer that records accurately. That's really important. You don't want to have undercooked venison. I bring it inside and I take a pair of scissors and I will cut all of those twists that I made to separate the sausage links. Now, if you're going to consume this fairly quickly throughout a week or two, yes, you have curing salt. You want to make sure you refrigerate it. You can also freeze this for later use as well. That's a personal preference, but there's nothing like nice warm deer bologna. Let me know what you think of the recipe or share other recipes. I'd really like to see different ideas for recipes. That's my spicy deer bologna with hot pepper chips. All right, guys, if you got this far, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you gained something of value. Also, if you're interested in preparing other wild game, check out my other videos on preparing squirrels and cooking crappies. You might find them of interest as well. You can find those links in the description and hit that like button and subscribe. Once again, you can get my deer bologna recipe in the description below. If you try it, let me know if you like it or how you made it better. Until next time, I'm Mr. R, and this is the Rondinelli Project. That's it. We got it.